you tell us the timeline of Jon accepted the fight, went to Thailand, came back, didn't want the fight. What happened?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Thailand was the end of it. You know, we were talking about it before that. But yeah, the fight was done. We had the fight done a long time ago. So why he decided not to fight, you guys will have to ask him that.
Is it accurate that there's a lot of reports about figures he was offered? Is it fair to say he was offered a lot of money to take this fight?
Yeah. Listen, he was offered what he deserves for that fight. Yeah.
If Jon Jones does not fight Tom Aspinall, he quit. Because he will walk away from something that has defined his entire adult life. When Jon Jones was a junior college national champion and he couldn't go to Division I wrestling and he chose to fight, this is what saved him. When Jon Jones had multiple run-ins with the law outside of fighting, he came back to fighting and it saved him. It allowed for him to build a great life. And honestly, I'm not mad that this young man has a life with his family and they got money and they got all these great things. It does not change the fact that by not stepping in that octagon, he quit. He didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. It's so surprising. Is he scared? No. To walk away right now opens the door for people to start having the conversation about, does this affect the legacy?
Daniel Cormier slams Jon Jones for ducking Tom Aspinall and declares his retirement a coward's exit from real competition.
Everybody's waiting for a decision when in reality, you're the heavyweight champ, you're supposed to fight. You go out there and you do the job. You go fight that dude and you put him in his place. Because the reality is a vast majority of the people that will watch or were going to watch believe that Jon Jones was going to beat Tom Aspinall. Me, looking at the fight, and if I look at it objectively, Jones is the favorite. Does that mean Tom won't catch him? No.
Cormier stirred the pot in the MMA world when he claimed that Jon Jones had quit by retiring before ever stepping into the cage with Tom Aspinall. According to Cormier, who has been one of Jones's most prominent rivals, the decision to walk away from the sport without facing the rising British heavyweight contender wasn't just unexpected. It was a retreat from a challenge that could have defined Jones's late career legacy. Cormier, speaking on his YouTube channel, did not mince words. He said that Jones walking away without the Aspinall fight meant he turned his back on what made him who he was. Cormier suggested that Jones, a man who once said MMA saved his life, owed it to the sport, the fans, and even himself to take that fight. While he acknowledged that Jones now enjoys the comfort of wealth, family, and success, he believed that the decision to retire at this particular moment casts a shadow on the way Jones will be remembered.
Tom has taken no damage. To walk away right now opens the door for people to start having the conversation about, does this affect the legacy? Because I feel like many decisions he made over the course of this last month, where he was hiccuping and he was stumbling all over the internet and he was so present publicly. He was in that pool with the Russians, swimming, getting dipped, looking happier than he's ever looked in his entire life. He's talking about how much money he's making. He's talking in third person. All those hiccups. Ariel's judging him. Chael's judging him. I'm judging him. Bisping's judging him. Demetrius Johnson's judging him. Alexander Volkanovski's judging him. The people that matter to him are judging him. And it didn't matter. All those hiccups. He felt assured that he was doing the right thing, but he wasn't. He's supposed to fight. You know, every great champion, from Muhammad Ali to George St. Pierre to Chuck Liddell to myself, they've all left the ladder down. Very few people don't. Very few people leave without opening the door for that next guy to get a chance. Khabib did it. He fought Justin Gaethje. He fought Dustin Poirier after McGregor, his biggest pay-per-view and biggest payday of all time. He dropped the ladder to the next guy and said, on the way out, I will give another guy a chance to see if he can supplant me. If he doesn't do it, I'm done.
Jon Jones officially retired after UFC Baku, leaving a gaping hole in the heavyweight division. UFC President Dana White confirmed the news during the post-fight press conference, announcing that Jones had given him a call to declare he was done with fighting. As a result, Tom Aspinall, who had been waiting in limbo for nearly 2 years as interim champion, was promoted to the status of undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. The moment marked the end of an era for Jones, one of MMA's most dominant and often controversial figures. His retirement drew both praise and criticism, dividing fans, fighters, and analysts alike.
The fact that the illustrious career of Jon Jones, the supposed greatest of all time, ends at a post-fight press conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, is a joke. Is an absolute joke. I'm sorry, but this is an absolute joke. Tom Aspinall is going to Las Vegas. At the very least, present him the title. At the very least, do something to make it up for this guy who has been sitting there watching his career just waste away for the past 7 months. Oh, by the way, his last fight was almost a year ago, 11 months. Do something. This is the way it happens. This is the way it happens. Something that could have happened at the post-fight press conference in New York. Jon Jones never wanted to take this fight. And anyone who tells you otherwise is not telling you the truth. As I've said time and again, Jon Jones asked for a lot of money. He asked for the number that everyone was talking about. He's asked for a lot of money, and as I said time and again, he deserved that money. He earned that money. After much negotiation, the UFC got him that money. Did they ask for help? That remains to be seen, but they got him the number. And Jon Jones said he was in. And then a couple of days later, he said he was out. And ever since then, the UFC has been trying to convince him to come back, to take the fight, one last fight. And he said no. Dana White guaranteed this fight would happen. He guaranteed it would happen as recently as a couple of weeks ago. It was already not a thing. The way in which this has been handled has not been great. And the fact that Tom Aspinall, at the very least, couldn't get some sort of, oh, here's the belt, here's a ceremony, here's your fight, here's your date, is shameful.
Jones's career had been a roller coaster in recent years. Following a narrow and disputed decision victory over Dominic Reyes at UFC 247 in February 2020, Jones left the light heavyweight division. More than 3 years passed before he returned to action, this time at heavyweight, where he captured the vacant title with a quick win over Cyril Gane at UFC 285 in March 2023. His last fight came almost 2 years later, when he dismantled former champ Stipe Miocic at UFC 309. But that long-awaited comeback never led to the showdown fans were most eager to see, a unification bout with Aspinall.
21, bro. Stop being weird.
Wait, they want a clip. How do you feel about Jon Jones retiring?
Oh, yep. Zoom in on him?
Man, that's fucked up, though. He should have fought Aspinall.
Yeah.
He should have fought him before he retired.
I agree.
I think Jon would have beat him.
So why do you think it didn't happen? Because Ariel did say the deal went through. The money he wanted.
Nigga probably scared. You know what I'm saying? The deal went through. How much money was it though? Do we have about
He probably got the fuck you money that he said. He probably got that.
How did he not take that?
I would have
took it too.
I would have took that fight.
He could have retired off that, right?
Hell yeah.
So what do you think's gonna happen? That's it? He's never fighting again. It can't be the end though.
I think he's gonna come back.
It's probably like a negotiation ploy. He probably won't double or a little bit more. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Would you ever pull some shit like that?
Aspinall had earned his interim belt in decisive fashion, demolishing Sergey Pavlovich and then going on to dispatch Curtis Blades in just over a minute at UFC 304 the previous summer. These dominant performances made it clear that he was not just a placeholder champion, but a genuine threat at the top of the division. Fans, media, and UFC executives alike expected the natural next step, Jones versus Aspinall. Even Dana White had repeatedly guaranteed that the bout was in the works. However, Jones remained distant from the discussion and showed little interest in the matchup, which raised serious doubts about whether he wanted to test himself against the new heavyweight force.
Jon Jones, I said it a million times, I'll say it again, he's never ducked anybody other than that one goofy time with the Chael Sonnen thing. He's never ducked anybody, and I think the reality is whatever changed his mind with this fight, I don't know, you'd have to ask him that, but he's 38 years old, and I don't know.
Do you think if it was someone like Alex Pereira, he would fight then? And it's maybe Tom that he specifically doesn't fancy the matchup, doesn't fancy the age difference?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions. Only he does. You know, we had the fight done. Listen, our job is to make the biggest fights we can make and the fights that the fans want to see, and that's what we try to do. But the minute somebody starts talking about retirement, you know my philosophy on that. You should do it.
Cormier wasn't alone in believing that something about Aspinall made Jones wary. He speculated that if Aspinall were to lose in the near future, Jones might suddenly be interested in fighting again. That prediction, while unconfirmed, has fueled ongoing debates. The suggestion is that Jones wasn't afraid in the literal sense, but rather calculated that a fight against Aspinall presented more risk than reward. This theory gained traction as Jones continued to downplay Aspinall's accomplishments and dismissed the idea that beating him would enhance his legacy. Despite this, the public sentiment turned increasingly hostile toward Jones, with many accusing him of avoiding the fight. A petition calling for him to be stripped of his title had gathered nearly 200,000 signatures at one point, well before his retirement.
Did you know about the stuff that came out of Albuquerque last night?
I saw it today. When I saw it today, I said, oh, everybody's going to think this is why he retired. Maybe that is why he retired. Who the hell knows, man? But yeah, I don't know. These are all questions you got to ask him. Yeah. We had the fight done. You know, you saw me talking about it very confidently that this fight was going to happen, and then he changed his mind.
White, for his part, confirmed that the fight with Aspinall was nearly finalized. He shared that the two sides had agreed on terms and that the UFC had been moving forward confidently. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jones changed his mind. While White didn't offer a concrete explanation for what caused the reversal, he did say that fans would need to ask Jones directly. Some observers wondered whether recent legal troubles played a role in Jones's decision to step away, though White said he couldn't confirm that either. He maintained that the UFC had offered Jones what he believed the fighter deserved in terms of compensation, and finances weren't the issue.
Two more quick ones for me. So for Tom Aspinall tonight, he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Does that defense he did against Curtis Blades count to his official defenses? Because then he would only have two more to equal Stipe, or does he have to start fresh now?
You guys are throwing shit at me that I haven't thought about. I have no idea, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. It seems like the most obvious choice would be Cyril Gane for Tom, but is there a chance here maybe that, like, to start the new without Jon Jones era, we should maybe do a big super fight and maybe you could convince Alex Pereira to move up and do an Aspinall fight, something like that? Or what are you thinking about the Tom fight?
Well, once I get through today, tomorrow starts International Fight Week. I'll be back in Vegas tonight, and Tom will be there all next week, so we'll sit down with him, see what he's thinking, what he wants to do. He's been great through this whole thing and literally said, I'll fight whoever you guys tell me to fight. I'm ready to go. So I'm looking forward to the Tom Aspinall era.
Meanwhile, Aspinall responded to the news of his undisputed status with a mix of excitement and focus. He used his social media platforms to celebrate the title upgrade and acknowledge the long, frustrating wait he endured as interim champion. In his view, the time for inactivity was over. The British fighter promised to become an active, entertaining, and dominant champion moving forward. He emphasized that he intends to defend the title frequently and take on all challengers, vowing to give back to the fans who stood by him during the months of uncertainty.
Tom Aspinall, the interim light heavyweight champion, the man that's held the interim strap longer than anyone else, almost as long as Jon Jones has been the heavyweight champ, he's moved on mentally. He is now training for Alexander Volkov or Jailton Almeida.
Aspinall's professional record backs up his ambitions. Holding an 8-1 record in the UFC heavyweight division, with most of his victories coming in the first round, Aspinall has established himself as a finisher. His only UFC loss, to Curtis Blades, was later avenged in spectacular fashion. With a total MMA record of 15-3 and 11 wins by knockout, he's proven himself to be one of the most efficient and dangerous fighters in the division. Now that he holds the undisputed crown, expectations for him to lead the division into a new era are sky high.
Dana White announced it, said he is officially retired, and Tom Aspinall is the UFC heavyweight champion. I didn't think that it was going to happen this fast. That by not stepping in that octagon, he quit. Didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. It's so surprising. Tom Aspinall was waiting. UFC was waiting. Everybody's waiting. Jon Jones just walked away.
Cyril Gane is expected to be Aspinall's first opponent as undisputed champion. likely in a bout scheduled for late summer or early fall. The matchup will provide Aspinall a chance to continue building his resume while the heavyweight division moves forward without Jones. Aspinall has been clear that he's ready for whoever the UFC puts in front of him, and he's committed to keeping the belt active. He credited his fans for their support during his inactivity and promised to give them the excitement and consistency they've been craving.
Shameful is the word that keeps coming to mind. It's conniving. It's unfortunate because Jon does have one of the greatest resumes of all time. He really does. If you think he's the greatest of all time, God bless, you have a very strong case. But in my opinion, Georges St-Pierre never embarrassed himself, never embarrassed the organization, never cheated, never got caught using PEDs, beat the undisputed champion at 170, beat the undisputed champion at 185, never held up the division, vacated the title when he needed to, came back when he needed to. There's no debate. All these things matter. And yes, he has 2 losses, and yes, he avenged both those losses. All these things matter. But anyway, this isn't a Jon Jones versus GSP debate. This is Jon Jones is no longer the UFC heavyweight champion, and Tom Aspinall is. And I presume Ciryl Gane will be the guy that gets the shot, and I'm okay with that. I wonder how Tom feels about that because Jon has already beaten him.
While Aspinall now stands at the top of the division, Jones's departure has not closed the book on speculation about his future. Despite his announcement on social media, many fans remain skeptical about whether this retirement will stick. Some believe that his competitive nature will bring him back eventually, possibly for a blockbuster matchup that could materialize under different circumstances. Rumors of a potential bout with Francis Ngannou have resurfaced, with fans wondering if the 2 heavyweights might meet outside the UFC in a cross-promotional or special event format.
Who would win, Ngannou or Aspinall?
Francis Ngannou. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't. Yeah.
Rematch, if it like, how would you see Tom?
You'll have to play that one out in your head because I don't see that happening. Yeah.
Despite the tributes and recognition from White, the lingering question remains: did Jon Jones step away because he truly felt he had nothing left to prove, or did he walk away to avoid one last dangerous test? Cormier believes it's the latter, that Jones saw Aspinall as a threat too great to risk his legacy against. He even went so far as to say that Jones might return if Aspinall loses the title, an idea that only deepens the narrative that Jones didn't retire out of contentment, but out of caution.
Doesn't want to fight Tom. And I honestly feel like if Tom loses, he would come back. And that's crazy to me because that's going to only make it worse. Now, outside of all that, we know Jon Jones has a history of things with the law. And today, I find out through people on the internet, because even today, they still love to send me things about Jon Jones. That Jon Jones has a pending thing in Albuquerque right now. That's just sad because I watched Kevin Garnett talk about basketball and start crying. It made me question, what does this guy's life look like when he does not have this? I felt when I was watching that Jon Jones is so tied to mixed martial arts. What does life look like when it's gone? It will leave such a void, as it does for so many fighters.
Cormier also acknowledged that Jones's career cannot be dismissed lightly. He has achieved more than most fighters can dream of, and his influence on MMA is undeniable. But the timing and context of his retirement raise questions that may follow him forever. Fans and pundits are now left to debate how much weight should be given to a fighter's final decisions when evaluating their legacy.
Jon Jones is done. I don't know if this is tactics by the UFC. I don't know that this is frustrations with Jon Jones. I don't know what this is. Does it feel like the end completely? I hope it does, because if he cares about his legacy, he doesn't want to be sitting there beating up on guys that may get past Tom Aspinall. They gave him the money. They agreed to everything, and he still just would not do it.
Did Jones exit as a champion, securing his place in history, or did he miss the opportunity to cement it by walking away from the one fight that could have tested his greatness in a new era? Regardless of those opinions, Jones's retirement is now official, and Tom Aspinall is the new face of the heavyweight division. While one era ends, another begins, and the new champion seems determined to make his reign one to remember. Aspinall's promise to stay active and defend the belt frequently offers hope that the division, which has suffered from inactivity and uncertainty for years will finally regain its momentum. As the UFC moves forward, fans will be watching closely to see if Jones's retirement truly holds and whether the ghost of unfinished business will eventually call him back.